What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're out in the shop this afternoon and I'm doing a little bit of thinking on the drawbar I built for my scraper here. So there's a couple of different measurements on a drawbar. I made this drawbar heavy duty to hold this scraper, but I made it to the length of the standard 14 and 16 inch length drawbar, and that measurement comes from the middle of your PTO shaft right here to the center of your pinhole. On a 540 RPM implement should be 14 inches. On a 1000 RPM implement should be 16 inches. So you would extend the drawbar 2 more inches. And there's a pin up under the bottom here that you pull out. There's only 2 inches of adjustment. So this is only for a PTO shaft driven implement that matters. And that has to do with when you're turning, your drive line has to pivot in a certain spot and to keep everything, the geometry of everything correct. And so anyway, I built this drawbar to that specification so that it could be used on multiple things, and the scraper would just hook up to it, and you know, then all I got to do is disconnect the scraper. The drawbar is the correct length to hook up. If you want to pull a bat wing more or whatever you want to pull, it's all the same length. You don't have to change anything. The issue is it's a lot longer than it needs to be for pulling a scraper, and I can shorten this drawbar up by about 5 inches. I got 5 1/4 inches a space there that I could slide this drawbar further in. The problem is I can't slide the drawbar further in because the bottom of the tractor here, I'll try to stick the camera up on there, you may not be able to see, but the bottom of the tractor here, the rear end housing, drops down further than the drawbar. So the drawbar actually bottoms out, just like the tape measure is doing there, on the back of the tractor here. You probably can't see that. But anyway, the drawbar bottoms out on the back of the tractor. So if I could, I would just drill another hole here for the scraper and slide it in further. But since that's not an option, my only option is to shorten the drawbar 5 inches in order to get this to go further in 5 inches, which is going to mean that I can't use this drawbar for anything else other than this scraper or something that does not have a PTO shaft. I could use it for, say, a trailer or some kind of cart or something like that, anything that did not have a PTO shaft. But if it's an implement with a PTO shaft, then I could not use this drawbar. I would have to swap the drawbar out. So that's my options I'm looking at, and I'm thinking about this for a couple different reasons. One, that extra 5 inches of distance here is adding a lot of extra stress on this rear support of the tractor here, because there's about there's over 6,000 pounds of tongue weight on this scraper when it's full of dirt, and so that's quite a bit of weight, and the extra 5 inches is you know, multiplying that stress a lot more than it has to be on the back of the tractor. I really hate to cut this drawbar that I made, because I made it that length for a reason, so that, you know, I could use it for multiple things. But looking at it, I'm thinking it's a lot of not needed stress on the back of the tractor when I could just shorten it up, move it up here, and make it work better for the scraper. And then if I need to pull a bat wing, I just simply have to remove this drawbar and put another drawbar in, the old drawbar, original drawbar for the tractor, or make another one if I need a heavy duty one. But that's going to be, if we go from the support there out here, we're looking at just over 13 inches to the center of that pinhole. So if we subtract 5 off of that, that's going to put us up here at, you know, or about 8 inches. So that's a significant difference of getting the scraper closer to the back of the tractor and removing a lot of the stress off the back of the tractor. It's also going to mean that the tractor is less likely to want to rear up. It's going to have more weight on the front drive tires, and maybe even maintain traction a little better. Also, it's going to make it 5 inches shorter for transport, putting it on a trailer, because it's really close on the trailer the way it is. I loaded it up just to check it, and it's really close the way it is. It does fit, but it's close, and I've got too much tongue weight. So by moving the tractor back 5 inches will also help in that scenario too, of getting it on the trailer and help with the tongue weight. It really breaks my heart to have to cut this drawbar in half that I just built, and I made it specific length for a reason, but I really think that may be the best option. And you know, pulling this scraper for the job that I needed this drawbar to do. And if I need another drawbar, I just simply have to crawl up on the tractor and remove the pin and put the OEM drawbar back in there. Or if I need to build a heavier one, I can do that as well. So I guess let's go ahead and disconnect this tractor here and get this drawbar out and see what we got to do to shorten it. Alright, so just got to get up on the tractor and remove the pin out of the drawbar. We'll pull it out. So you have to have a socket to remove the pin on this tractor. I don't remember what size it is. I'm thinking it may be 1.5 inches, but could be wrong. It may be bigger than that. We're going to go with that. I'll take you guys under here with me and show you what I'm talking about. And the reason I wanted to make this as long as it is, so that I didn't have to change it, because this is kind of aggravating. It's not bad here in the shop, but if you need to change it in the field to a different length, you have to have a cordless impact wrench in order to take this bolt right here loose that holds the pin. And you can see what I'm talking about. Let me get you guys some light right there. You can see what I'm talking about the drawbar bottoming out against the bottom of the tractor there, which again I think is a design that could have been improved on. You see what I'm talking about there? If they would have designed that a little bit different, where the drawbar could slide past instead of hitting that right there, it would have been a lot better. So we're gonna have to shorten that up. I've got it all the way in right now. That hole you're looking at right there is a 16-inch position hole, and it's currently in the 14-inch position hole. So if I shorten it 5 inches, I could make a 9 and 11-inch hole, which is nowhere standard of anything, but it would make it fit on a different tractor or something. Maybe if you needed a little bit more room for a tractor that had a longer carrier up under it or something. I'm not sure. I really want it to be a standard length and leave it at 14-inch setting, and that way I never had to mess with it. But I think for this application of pulling this scraper, that it may be best to go ahead and cut it off. So that is the holder right there. Just remove that bolt and the pin comes right out, or nut, or whatever you want to call that. And then all we should have to do is pull on our drawbar out. All right, so this is our drawbar. You guys that watched the previous video see me build this, and so basically all we're going to do is move these two holes here back 5 inches, as well as cut our notch 5 inches further back here, because there's some bolts that go in right here. Is the reason this is notch comes in from the bottom. It holds that carrier, and the drawbar hits the head of the bolts. So it had to be notched further back 5 inches. And man, I hate to cut this drawbar, but I think it's the best thing to do for the scraper use. So that's what we're gonna do. I really wish that this tractor was built to where I could just drill a hole where I needed it back here 5 inches further back, and it would slide on in, but that's just not an option with this tractor's built. So let me get something different to write with now. The soapstone will show up just a little bit better. We're making a line, and that other width, you know, so this is It's been painted and got some grease and stuff on it now. Put it in there. Yeah, that's not going to be real square doing it that way. Let's see. It will that way though. So we'll cut off 5 inches right there, and then we'll have to transfer our holes back 5 inches. Drill them, transfer our slot back 5 inches. All right, so I kind of got my marks made here. Go ahead and put our center punch mark in here for the drill. And that one went off a little bit. Double check that with a tape measure. Pretty good. All right, so we'll set our drill up and drill the holes. Let me double check and make sure they're correct. It should be. So this first hole's 5 inches back, second hole's 5 inches back from the center. And so that should be, if you're going from the PTO shaft in to the center of the drawbar pin out here, would be a 9 and 11 instead of a 14 and 16. The only reason I'm putting this hole here is because maybe if I wind up getting a different tractor or something, or needing to use this on a different tractor, maybe it could be slid back if say the plate carrier or the drawbar carrier on the different tractor was maybe a little bit longer. That would give me an option to have a space to pull the drawbar back a little further and still pin it and make it work. And that may be never needed, I don't know, but I figure I'll go ahead and drill it, and it'll be an option if need be. All right, guys, well, here goes nothing. Cut our brand new drawbar up. It's time to change the saw blade. All right, let's try this again with a new saw blade. 5 inches shorter. Now we got to cut these out, drill a hole. I'm gonna try to cut this with this bandsaw instead of hooking up the torch. I don't know how well that's gonna work, but we'll see. Seems to be working, just going to be a little slow. Well, that certainly wasn't any straighter or faster to cut it like that. But it is doable. And so I got it notched. I've got the mag drill set up here with the 1 1/16 cutter in it. And I don't think I mentioned this, but this is an 1 1/4 thick flat bar, about 6 inches wide. That's what this drawbar is made out of. So let's go ahead and drill this hole, or 2 holes, and we'll be ready to slide this thing back in. Kind of amazing what that mag drill will do, ain't it? It'll take you forever and a day to try to drill that with a hand drill or something. I'll find my mark from my other hole there. I got a center punch on it. Feel it right there. And this hole here may never be used, but we'll go ahead and drill it anyway. That's a wrap on the hole drilling and the shortening. I do now is put it back on there, and she should be ready to go to work. May spray a little paint on it, but other than that, ready to go. All right, so here we go. Cut my notches a little bit further back than I needed to. That ain't no big deal though. See if our pen goes in now. It does. Gotta do snugger up now. Be a lot stronger. All right, we'll back her back up and hook her back together. Should be ready to go. So that looks a lot stronger even just by looking at it, and I know it is. So hopefully that should work a whole lot better for us in transferring the weight to the tractor, keeping some weight on the front end, reducing stress off of this bracket right here, this carrier support. All right, so I'm definitely liking that setup there a little bit better, or a lot better. It looks a lot stronger. We got that weight carrying point up close to the tractor, so it should support that a whole lot better. It reduces stress on the tractor probably by at least a third, I would think. I didn't mention this earlier, but I moved the hitch here, the bolts. I had it in these two holes. I moved it down a hole so that it would pick up the front of this a little higher, because the way the door on this thing works here is it works off a mechanical linkage here, as you see. And so by raising that hitch 2 inches, it makes it where you have to push the pan itself down, the basket, 2 inches to touch the ground at the same point, which in turn gives you a 2-inch wider gap for your door to cutting edge opening. So I thought that would be a good thing to do, and I did kind of measured here. I think we're about, I believe, 18 inches. Let me get a tape measure to make sure I'm telling you right. It had 30-inch tires was what was supposed to be on this thing originally, and which should be 15 inches. Yeah, we're about 18 inches. Plus your, and that would be the center line of the axle, 15 inches. Plus your height of half the spindle, plus a gooseneck ball sitting on top of that. So that would be roughly ballpark about where it was sitting with a dolly under, somewhere thereabouts. It would probably work in either of those locations, but I still have about 5 inches of, or maybe 6 inches of cutting depth. In other words, it'll go in the ground 5 or 6 inches from where it's sitting there. You see, we got about 1.5 inches of stroke left on that cylinder, which through the mechanical linkage and everything ends up being about 5 or 6 inches of actual cut depth here that this will go down further. When I had it in this other setting here, it would go down about 8 inches, which there's no way the tractor was going to pull it that deep. It wouldn't even pull it all the way down now. Usually a couple of inches is about all probably going to get with this size tractor, and this tractor's not quite big enough really, but I think we're going to be able to make it work. At least we got it hooked up and close to the tractor as we can get it with this setup. I'm sure there's something I could have done it a little different if I really wanted to, you know, get every last inch of it. I could have made this a little different or put a different type hitch on it, or did something just a little different. But that's relatively pretty close to the tractor right there, and I think it's going to work out good for us. So anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap this video up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.